Now, let's talk about the biggest visual deception in the automotive world. You look at your tire, and right there, embossed in beautiful, bold rubber lettering, it says Max Press, 51 PSI or 44 PSI. Most drivers see that and think, well, that's what the manufacturer says the tire needs. Stop right there. That number is not a recommendation. It is a structural limit. Think of it like a bridge. If a bridge says max weight 10 tons, does that mean you should park 10 tons of lead on it every single day? Of course not. That number on the sidewall is the burst point safety margin determined by the tire manufacturer, like Michelin or Goodyear, to ensure the tire doesn't explode under extreme loads. The tire manufacturer doesn't know if that tire is going on a 2,500-pound Mazda Miata or a 6,000-pound Cadillac Escalade. How could one number possibly work for both? They can't. When you follow the sidewall, you're inflating for the tire's survival, not your car's performance. And remember, different brands use different internal recipes. You can have two tires the exact same size, but one has a 2-ply polyester cord and the other has a reinforced steel belt. Their max PSI will be different, but your car's requirements remain the same. Number 1. Higher risk of blowouts and structural failure. This is where things get dangerous. People think blowouts happen because there's too much air. In reality, underinflation is the silent killer. When you run 32 PSI in a heavy modern vehicle that requires 38 or 40, your tire isn't a circle anymore. It's a sagging oval. As that tire rotates at 70 miles per hour, the sidewall has to flex or knead thousands of times per minute. This constant bending generates interstitial heat. I've seen tires literally cook themselves from the inside out. The rubber loses its bond with the internal steel belts. You won't see it from the outside, not until the tread peels off like an orange skin while you're in the fast lane. On the flip side, if you overinflate based on that sidewall lie, you turn your tire into a bowling ball. It loses its elasticity. When you hit a pothole, and we've all hit them, the tire can't absorb the energy. Instead of flexing, the internal carcass snaps. You get that dreaded sidewall bubble, and just like that, you're out $250 for a new tire. Number 2. Suspension damage and premature wear. Most people think of the suspension as just the springs and the shocks. That's wrong. Your tires are your primary suspension. They are the first line of defense against every crack, pebble, and expansion joint on the highway. When you default to 32 PSI on a car designed for 35 or 40, your tires are too mushy. They don't provide the structural platform your suspension geometry needs to stay aligned. This puts massive, unintended leverage on your control arm bushings and ball joints. Conversely, if you're overinflated, your tires stop acting like cushions and start acting like hammers. Every vibration is sent straight through the wheel, into the strut towers, and eventually into your steering rack. Have you ever noticed a mysterious rattle in your dashboard or a steering wheel that won't stay centered? Before you pay a mechanic $1,200 to refresh your front end, check your pressure. You might just be shaking your car to pieces. Number 3. Uneven and accelerated tire wear. Tires are the most expensive consumable on your car. Why would you want to replace them every 20,000 miles when they're rated for 60,000? If you're running that generic 32 PSI and it's too low for your specific car, the middle of the tire bows inward. The weight of the car is forced onto the outer shoulders. You'll see the edges of your tires balding while the middle looks brand new. That's money literally being scrubbed off onto the asphalt. If 32 is too high for your car, say on a very light compact, the tire balloons out. Only the center strip touches the road. You'll wear out the heart of the tire in months. I want you to go out to your driveway after this video. Rub your hand across the tread. If it feels choppy or if one side is smoother than the other, your 32 PSI habit has already cost you a set of tires. Number 4. reduced braking, and poor handling. Let's talk about the contact patch. This is the only part of your car, about the size of a human palm, that actually touches the road. When your pressure is wrong, that contact patch shrinks or deforms. In an emergency braking situation, every square inch of rubber counts. If you're underinflated, the center of the tread lifts up and you lose friction. Your ABS has to kick in earlier, and your stopping distance grows by 10, 15, or even 20 feet. In a crisis, 20 feet is the difference between a close call and a total loss. How does your steering feel? Is it heavy or numb? That's usually underinflation. Is it darty or jittery? That's overinflation. Your car was engineered to have a very specific slip angle in the corners. When you ignore the specific PSI your car needs, you're throwing the engineer's hard work in the trash and turning your BMW into a Buick. Number 5, worse fuel economy. This is the one that hits your pocketbook every single week. It's called rolling resistance. Think about riding a bicycle with soft tires. It's exhausting, right? You have to pedal twice as hard to go the same speed. Your car's engine feels the exact same way. According to the Department of Energy, for every 1 PSI your tires are underinflated, you lose about 0.2% of your fuel economy. That doesn't sound like much until you realize most people are running 5 to 8 PSI low. Now you're looking at a 1.5 to 2% hit on every single tank of gas. Over the course of a year, that's an entire tank of gas wasted just because you couldn't be bothered to find your real number. In an era where gas is pushing $4 or $5 a gallon, why are you giving that money away? So, how should I know the exact PSI for my car? Forget the internet forums, forget your neighbor. The source of truth is closer than you think. Open your driver's side door. Look at the B pillar, that's the metal frame the door latches onto. You will see a federally mandated sticker, usually white with yellow and red accents. This is the tire and loading information placard. This sticker is the holy grail for your specific vehicle. It doesn't give you a range, it gives you a directive. It will tell you exactly what the cold PSI should be for the front and the rear. Why do we trust this? Because the people who wrote that sticker spent thousands of hours on test tracks. They weighed the car down with sandbags, they drove it through slaloms, and they measured the heat signature of the rubber. They know more than the guy at the tire shop, period. Why front and rear PSI are often different. You might look at that sticker and see something confusing. Front 35 PSI, rear 32 PSI. Wait, why would they be different? It comes down to weight distribution. In a front-engine car, your front tires are carrying the engine, the transmission, and you. They need more structural support. The rear of the car is mostly empty space and a gas tank. If you put 32 PSI in all 4 tires just to keep it simple, you are making your car unbalanced. You're making the front end plow in corners and the rear end bounce over bumps. In my Outback, the engineers actually specify a higher pressure when I'm towing or hauling gear. Why? Because the physics of the car change when the load changes. If you want your car to handle like the day you bought it, you have to respect the balance the engineers intended. Cold tire pressure explained. Here is the mistake that ruins even the best intentions. You drive 20 miles to a gas station, pull up to the air pump, and check your pressure. It says 36 PSI. You think perfect and drive away. You just failed. Tires are friction heaters. As you drive, the air molecules inside the tire move faster and expand. This can fake your reading by 4 to 6 PSI. If you adjust your tires while they are hot, you are actually underinflating them. Cold means the car has been sitting for at least 3 hours, or you've driven less than a mile at low speed. The best time to check? First thing in the morning, right in your own driveway. If you don't own a portable gauge, buy one. It's the most important $20 you'll ever spend on your car.